Good evening once again, our IncrediChat viewers and fans. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We've got a great show. This has been a 3 in a row. This has been great. We've had so many great guests lately, and tonight's guest is totally another fantastic person that we're going to have. So we're going to get right into that. Video game fans, anime fans, we got something for you tonight. I'm just going to get right into it and welcome in voice actress Justine Huxley.
Hi.
Welcome, Justine.
Thank you so much.
It is great to have you here tonight on IncrediChat.
Thank you.
So I guess like we get started with a lot of the guests that we have here. I guess for people who may know your voice but not know a lot about you, I guess kind of curious how you got started in this career, because just learning about you as we're getting ready, because we're also promoting the Saratoga Comic-Con that's coming up next weekend where you'll be. You do a little bit of everything. You're an actress, you're a singer, you do voiceover, so you kind of miss entertainment, if you will, because you hit the nail on many targets. How did you get into showbiz? Where did you get the acting bug from?
Yeah, so I grew up in LA. And my dad is a jazz pianist and composer. And so I've always had so much music in my house, and my family sings. My mom is an incredible singer. My grandparents always sang, and my grandmother was a dancer in the old MGM Hollywood movie musicals, which was so cool. And my dad was a child actor as well. So I always heard these incredible stories, and I had been singing impromptu concerts for family, friends, and anyone who would listen, since I was probably old enough to talk, probably 2 years old. And I always loved musical theater. I was so involved in musical theater in school. And I started doing on-camera commercial work when I was about 6 years old. I did a Brawny Paper Towel commercial. That's how I got started, and a Dixie Paper Cup commercial. And then I kept doing commercials, and kept doing a little bit of voiceover, like some ADR looping work. So that's like the background speaking in films or TV. I did that a little bit. And then mostly in high school, I was doing musical theater and plays. So I went to the LA County High School for the Arts in Los Angeles, which was incredible. It's a public school, but you have to audition to get in. And I was in the theater department there. And I had friends who were opera singers and classical musicians and incredible visual artists and ballet dancers and hip hop dancers. And so it was a great upbringing. And then I went to New York for college at SUNY Purchase. And I was in the acting program there. And I did a bunch of plays there. And then I moved to Manhattan and lived there for about a year and a half. I booked a TheaterWorks USA tour. I was Ruby, the bunny, the big, huge bunny in Max and Ruby. And I went to 14 different states. And we had so much fun. And then I moved back to LA after a while. And my cousin, who used to do voiceover professionally, now he's retired, he suggested, while I was auditioning for on-camera work and theater, that I should really start taking voiceover classes because it would be a great supplement. And I loved it so much. I got an agent. I made voiceover demos in commercials and animation, and started doing that. And that's mostly what I do now, is voiceover. And I just love it.
It's great. I mean, I'm sure you probably have like a whole history you're sharing about your dad and your grandmother. It just like kind of blows my mind, like classic Hollywood stuff there, right?
Yeah.
The MGM musicals. But like you said, live theater, and was kind of where you, and that seems to be like a lot of where young people get their chops started. Unless like you're really growing up in an area where there's a lot of production being made. How do you feel that as an actress prepares doing a live theater? How does that prepare you for more of that like on-camera work? Because I mean, obviously the projecting when you're on stage is a lot different than when you're in a recording studio or you're mic'd up for a camera. how does that help build the skills as an actress?
I think it's, so I took clown class in college, and I took this French method of movement class, and we just went crazy, and we studied animal movements, and we studied other people, and we worked on our walking and the way our facial movements were. And I think that helped so much in building a character, and from the outside in, taking random vintage costume pieces and putting it on and see how we felt. And I think in theater, there's a little bit more time to rehearse than TV and film or voiceover. There's no rehearsal. You just go right in and you do 2 or 3 takes, and that's it. And then the director says, okay, let's try this again, but in a different way. But it's just really fast. There's not a lot of time to think. There's sometimes where you don't even get the script for voiceover jobs until you're there in the room, in the session, and you have to make really quick judgments, really fast decisions. And I think doing improv work in theater and taking improv classes has helped so much with that.
Well, because especially one of the things with improv too is like you're really building character, you know, and learning how to play off of other people. And again, I know definitely situations in, you know, listen, COVID changed everything for a lot of people. So a lot of people are now working. I'm sure you probably have a home studio as well as going into the studio. The improv, especially for voice acting, you know, what is it like working with the other actors? Because you hear that's like the top thing is to learn improv, those improv skills, so you can play with each other. How does that affect what you do?
We, unfortunately, nowadays, we don't really get to interact with the other actors in session because everybody's so busy, and it's more time efficient and cost efficient for us to come in solo. So a lot of times I'm improvising with our voice director, or I'm just improvising with myself. I'm working on a new show right now where I play 2 different characters that are related, and they have similar voices, but they have to be a little bit different, and they improvise with each other all the time. So that's definitely challenging to improvise with myself, but it's a lot of fun, and it's a great mental workout.
You know, so and you know, talking about workouts too. So you've done animes, you've done I guess you could call it traditional animation. I don't know if there's really a traditional animation anymore.
They call it prelay, which is where it's not already voiced. So like in anime, there's Japanese voice actors that are already the voice, and then you are dubbing it. So in animation, like in Disney animation, they call that like prelay animation. Yeah.
Exactly. So you've got the anime dubbing, you've got the prelay, and then you have video games. And again, very different forms of animation and different forms of voice acting. I guess for the folks watching who don't know, so obviously let's talk about the prelay, right? The stuff that's here, that's on, like you did Goldie and Bear, so the stuff that's on Disney Channel. How is that different than voicing something that you're now dubbing over, you know, languages from another country?
Yeah, so you get a lot more freedom with the prelay animation, with the original animation, because they encourage you to improvise. They encourage you to, you know, come up with your own character. A lot of times the art isn't done yet. There's some sketches, there's some artwork, but the animation, they animate to your voice, which is so interesting and cool. Like I was saying the other day, it was so interesting in Goldie and Bear, the director and some of the animators came to watch us sometimes in our sessions. And by the end of recording the first season, some of Little Red Riding Hood's facial expressions were so reminiscent of mine, which was so cool. It was so interesting to see because they really wanted to capture us as people as well. So that was so interesting. Yeah, it's a lot more freeing, I would say. And then anime, where the character is already on the screen, it's already voiced, there's already the animation, you have to match the lip flaps, and you have to make sure that you have the same tone as the Japanese voice actor that you are dubbing. It's a lot more about math, and are we getting it in the right amount of time? I can't improvise. If we're not getting it in the right amount of time, the director or the writer, script supervisor will rewrite it. Sometimes it's as simple as shortening a word to a one word or one syllable word instead of a 2-syllable word. That will make the difference with the mouth flaps. So it's a lot more about how can I be creative and how can I still honor this character, but do it in this short or maybe much longer amount of time than I would say it, because in Japanese or in any other language that I'm dubbing, it's, the translation is going to be different, and maybe it takes a Japanese person a lot longer to say something, or shorter than it would an American voice. So it's very interesting.
Well, let me ask too, in regards to this dubbing too, like, so you're listening to those tracks because you want to hit some of those same beats, get that same emotion.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself even picking up on some of these other languages as time goes on to kind of?
Sometimes I've been trying to get better at Japanese. I really, really want to go to Japan. So I love doing the Japanese dubbing because it's fun to listen to all of them speak. But yeah, I did a show from Spain that was a live action show called Elite on Netflix, and that was fun trying to translate on my own, and because I speak a tiny bit of Spanish, so yeah, it was cool. Yeah.
And I mean, certainly, like you said, timing is the essence of that too. And like, and we've all watched, whether it be a live action thing or an animated thing that's dubbed over. And you see the work that goes into that, just because when it's very well dubbed and when it's not very well dubbed.
Yeah.
So I guess it becomes a collaborative event, and partnership between the writers, and even when they get the actors in there too, because like you said, they may need to shorten some words or shorten some syllables and stuff, because I can only imagine what it'll be for live action, but at least for animation, the mouth flapping looks a certain kind of way, so make sure to get those words in. But I can only imagine for a live action thing how much more difficult, because our mouths do form these shapes and ways of speaking.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I would say live action is a lot harder than cartoon dubbing, for sure.
Yeah. And then that takes us into the world of video games. And for people who don't know, and I guess you could talk a little bit about this, you've done GTA, you do Apex, you do Red Dead and stuff like that. Those are probably, I'm gonna go on a limb and guess, those are probably some of your more grueling recording sessions, right?
Yeah, I'm really lucky with Apex. My character doesn't scream a lot, so I'm not like shredding my voice like some characters have to do. She's a French scientist that's very punny and loves all the electrical puns, and she's a little bit more introverted, and so there's not a ton of screaming, which is so nice.
But I'm sure, and again, with all these games, there's probably a billion different ways to yell, scream, trip, fall, breathe, and what have you. How do you, as an actress, how do you come up with a different way of breathing? Like you're being chased.
Great question. That's a great question. I try to ask the director I try to get as much information as I can. How am I being chased? Who am I being chased by? How big is the character? Is it a monster that I'm being chased by? Is it a dragon? Is it a small child? Is it, a warrior that's, at the top of his or her game? I think it all depends on the context, and, like what we did when we were kids. We play pretend, and that's what you have to do when you're acting, especially in voiceover, because you're not seeing them in real time. You know, it's not like on camera where you are in the costume, and you really have to imagine so much more in voiceover.
Man, and again, sometimes you're not even knowing what the director's going to give you or what the director's looking for. It's what you give them, and they're like, you're doing all these different things, and they're like, that's the ticket right there.
Yeah, totally.
So with the voiceover, so video games, there's a lot of script, right? On average, for like a 30-minute show like Goldie and Bear, which is even probably shorter, like with those little 10-minute things, or a longer feature like an anime or something. What is the recording time like for those compared to a video game? Because again, with a video game, there's hours and hours of gameplay, and again, like we were saying, so many different versions or takes of different things. What are those? What do those sessions look like for you? What are the differences, the challenges of those?
So for Apex, I usually go in because since it is an ongoing game, which is so cool. We usually record new lines every few months. So I have a session tomorrow for like 2 hours, which is awesome. And it is challenging sometimes because we a lot of times just get our lines. We don't get the other person's lines that we're speaking to, and a lot of times we're not speaking to a person. We're just saying like, you know, charge, or over here, there's a loot box there, you know, something like that. And so you have to make sure that it's authentic to the character, but also helps the game. It's still telling a story, but it's more action based. In something like Goldie and Bear or a cartoon, it's almost like a radio play.
Yeah.
And
again, you were talking about like Apex, for instance. This is an ongoing game, so there's constantly new content that is coming up. So, like you said, there's a loot box over there. You know, you want to keep that also fresh. For the people that are coming into the game, because otherwise it becomes too much of the same thing. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, it's always about the companies want to sell more of these games. They want to bring more people in. So it's finding those different ways to make your character new and refreshing every time that you do that. Do you find that to be a challenge, especially with something like Apex, where they're bringing you in regularly?
Yes, but I've been working on this game for 5.5 years now, so I feel like now I've gotten the hang of it, luckily. I think in the beginning it was more challenging because we recorded more lines to start off with, and now I know who my character is. It's like if you're on a long-running TV series and you know, you're working on it all the time. We're not working on it all the time, so I you know, I'll ask them, hey, can you play this voice reference for me? Because it could have been that like an hour earlier, I was, instead of a French scientist in her 20s, I was a little kid who had a lisp that was 3 years old, who was an American. So it's nice to hear that voice reference. And most of the time they'll give it to you, and that helps a lot.
Gotcha.
So they'll do like a speak and repeat, like a listen and repeat. So you'll hear a line, you'll repeat it a couple times, hear another line, repeat it a couple times, and then you get into that, like you get into that zone, I guess.
Mindset.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to tell you. I was going to ask that too. Is you're doing multiple voices for some of these things too. And I think there's probably a mindset with some people. And I mean, listen, you go back to like you talk about like those old radio shows, and you look back and you can find stuff online. You look back at some like the old recordings sessions of like Smurfs or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And mind you, all those people, that generation of voice actor, they all came from the radio days.
Yeah.
You know, your Don Messick's, your Dawes Butlers, Mel Blancs, all that stuff. So they were doing it. Obviously nowadays, since you guys are pretty much recording solo, you're focusing on just one character at a time. Whereas when they were recording it in the studio where there's all of them sitting together, they would flip flop on cue from voice to voice. Like, do you find the switch over difficult from character, or is it better do you like playing it one at a time, or have you ever tried it flip-flopping?
Yeah, I actually just did a session a few weeks ago where I was flip-flopping. And it was a lot of fun. It was definitely hard to keep track, but it was a lot of fun. You know, the hardest thing, I think, I've done audiobooks as well. And there was one audiobook where I think I had to do 14 different characters, and you're narrating and you're doing all the characters. So to remember, oh, this character, oh yeah, she's from New York, or this character is from the South. Oh yeah, got to go back, got to do that again. That's, to me, the hardest are the audiobooks.
Mm-hmm. And I'm glad you mentioned audiobooks, because I know they recommend for people who are interested in getting into the voice acting profession, they say that audiobooks is probably one of the best places to get started. What are they looking for? What is it that you bring to a table? Because they're not necessarily asking you to do characters for an audiobook. For someone who wants to break into voice acting and starting at something with audiobooks, what are they looking for?
I think it totally depends on the genre. I've only done audiobooks that are very character driven, so I haven't done like any nonfiction books.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think they're looking for stamina. Audiobooks, unless they're for little kids and they're short, usually they take many, many hours, many, many days. And you have to make sure that you don't lose your voice on them.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to take care of yourself, drink plenty of water, try not to get sick, try not to overly, glottal fry like this, like the Kardashians kind of do sometimes. That can really hurt your voice and put you out of commission. I think stamina is such a huge deal in audiobooks because you're just talking all day. So stamina, also the ability to make something interesting that might not be interesting, like in nonfiction books, like a textbook. You don't want to be too over the top, like we're going to learn about plants, but we're also like, you also don't want to be so monotonous and monotone that you make people fall asleep.
Yeah. Exactly. That would not be good. You want to hear the book, right?
Yeah.
I guess depending if it's a book that you need to put to sleep, that would be the way
yeah,
to go.
maybe like the call map or something. You want people to fall asleep.
There you go.
Yeah.
But it's funny you mentioned that too. I didn't even think about the call map, but yeah, that's another one. And I mean, they do a lot of different even properties on there. So there are roles for people who are interested in voices. I mean, obviously they get like the big voices for that. So again, you mentioned, I want to go back to improv, right? When you're developing a character, improv, using your improv skills, who are some of your, because obviously we all have our heroes, who are some of your heroes that you pull from, that you kind of throw into your improv when you're getting ready for a role, auditioning for a role? Like, who are you bringing there with you?
I love all those Christopher Guest movies. I think they're just genius. Waiting for Guffman is one of my favorite films of all time. I put on Best in Show whenever I'm feeling blue. It just makes me laugh so hard. They are just the most genius. Eugene Levy, Christopher Guest, Parker Posey, Catherine O'Hara. They're just the masters, and I have so much admiration for them. What?
Mitch and Mickey, Mighty Wind.
Yes. I love Mighty Wind. They're just, oh my gosh, they're so hilarious, and they take everything so seriously too. It's not like they're not laughing at it. They, if they're talking about their dog, they are very serious. They love these dogs. These are their best friends. It's so, it's such a joy. And I think that's one of the reasons why I love doing this, is because it brings so many people so much joy. And it's so nice to have that in this world.
And I'm glad you mentioned that too, because speaking about that joy, you work in a booth, right? So you don't get to see what you don't theater. There's the audience. They're waiting for you after the show's over to take a photo with you, get an autograph with you. All the games, the animes, the cartoons, all that stuff. You don't know what you're doing. So how many years have you been out here on the convention circuit these days? So
I just started like a year and a half ago. So
wow.
yeah, it's been it's a new thing for me, but it's so rewarding. It's so awesome to meet the fans from all over the world. I went to New Zealand last year for a convention, and it's so cool to see people, you know, fly out. Like some people flew out from Asia for it, and some people flew out from Australia, and I went to a signing event in Universal City Walk in January, and there were people who flew from South America, and it's just amazing because these games or these shows mean so much to them, and they want to meet the people that are involved in it. So it's so cool, and I'm so excited about Saratoga. I love New York. I haven't been to New York in a long time, and I hear Saratoga Springs is so cute and so pretty.
Yeah,
so
no, it's a fantastic little town and a fantastic show. But that's where I was going with, is because, you know, and you kind of just said it. You're touching all these people around the world.
Yeah.
You know, through a video game. You know, and you know, as a performer, that's every performer's goal is to make that connection with somebody, and you're doing that. And I mean, obviously, going to conventions and stuff like that, you get to really see the impact that this character you did makes on somebody, you know. And you may not have thought of anything about this character, and you're like, oh, this was the best thing ever, you know. So
yeah, totally.
That's the nice thing to see. So outside of the world of voice acting, what else are you currently doing? I know you do some outreach. We talked about that a little bit before we got started. Like how else are you out there sharing your talents with the world?
Yeah, so I'm involved with this show called MISCAST, where we sing songs in a concert setting that we are totally wrong for. So I've sung songs that were old women, little boys, stalkers, all the fun stuff. Yeah, so we do that in Los Angeles. I do maybe like 2 or 3 a year, and we do that for charity. We do that for Project Angel Food. And I love doing that. As we talked about before, I sang for an autistic school. I did a concert for them, which was so wonderful, and seemed like they really enjoyed it. So yeah, I love doing concerts for charity, and I love just personally going to see theater, going to see opera, going to museums, and yeah, it's been a nice cultural exploration of LA. Coming back and moving back to LA, it's been really cool.
And I just wanted to throw up here, I threw mandykaplan.com. That's where I guess that's a creator and producer of Miscast, Right Singer Wrong Song. So
yes, and I'm in the next show in June. So I think it's June 9th. We're doing our next show, and I think tickets go on sale soon.
Nice. And obviously Project Angel Food's a good cause. So check that out. And they're on Facebook too. So I just as you mentioned it, I pulled that up here, and they're on all the things too. So Instagram and all that stuff. So I mean, definitely for people who want to check that out, they can follow Mandy Kaplan too and see you there. Sergine, how are you doing tonight? Yeah, and you mentioned live theater. Like I think there's nothing like live theater.
Yeah.
You know, and again, for young people getting into it, I think that's the best place to like just get. I see it with the kids at school. That's where you get everything. You know, the drive from it. So I think that's fantastic. Let me ask you too. You've been in the world of voice actors, so obviously you come in the world of voice actor acting. You come from a family of showbiz, right? Out here now, being a professional actress, you know, hitting these cons. Have you been starstruck by anybody, or is there anybody that you're waiting to still run into?
You know, I think growing up in Los Angeles and having, you know, celebrities that were parents of friends in my class, you know, I don't get as starstruck with actors anymore. Like I realize that we're just people too.
Of course.
That's so nice. Of course I'm like big fans of certain actors, But for me, I get so starstruck with celebrity chefs because I just think they're incredible. And I try to go, like, whenever I'm traveling and when I'm at a con, if there's a city that I'm going to and there's a Top Chef alum, I try to go to that restaurant in whichever con city I'm going to, which is so fun. But yeah, I think for the fans that get really nervous meeting us actors, I always say, you know, I know you're nervous, but you really don't have to be nervous. We're just people too. We just want to say hi and be friendly. So yeah, don't be scared of us. We're just humans.
That's good. Look, and you know, you're sitting here talking restaurant. Sergey, one who's watching us, he talked about, he's like Gordon Ramsay. Have you been to one of Gordon Ramsay's restaurants?
I haven't been to Gordon Ramsay yet. I would love to. That sounds
as long as he's
really
not
good.
there yelling at people.
Yeah, exactly.
That's part of the show.
Yeah.
So, no, this was great tonight. I'm looking forward to Saratoga. Anybody watching, definitely, if you're in the New York area, come up to Saratoga next weekend. Justine will be there. Are there any other shows that you want to plug that you're going to? We got Saratoga next weekend. Any place else that you're coming up to shortly?
I can't say yet, but I will announce on my social media soon.
Very cool. So follow Justine on all of her social media.
Thank you.
I want to say Twitter. It's not. What is it now? X.
Yes.
I still call it Twitter. X.
Yeah.
Instagram. All that stuff. Justine Huxley. Go to Mandy Kaplan. Check that out for the musical concert that Justine's going to be in, and of course be with us for Saratoga Comic-Con up in Saratoga, New York. In the next week and a half we'll be up there, so that's going to be a lot of fun.
Next week. I'm so excited.
Yeah, and there's, like I said, there's some good restaurants up there too. It's a neat
Great.
little town.
Awesome.
And Sarah Jean just wanted to add here too about voice actors. He gets nervous. I get that feeling about getting nervous about meeting voice actors. I think he got nervous meeting Rob Paulson. Have you met Rob Paulson? Rob's a great guy.
Haven't, but he's so talented. Yeah.
Yeah. And Sarah Jean, and I've met Sarah Jean at a couple of shows too. You know, just everybody's a human being. You know, just go up there and be yourself. And
yeah, we're excited to meet you. That's why we come. You know, we're so excited to meet the fans, and we love hearing, you know, how the properties that we're voicing, you know, how they affect you and what you like about them and what you like about the characters. And, you know, we're in it. So yeah, no worries about being nervous. And if you are, that's okay too. We're all just people.
Absolutely. And you know, you're doing this for the fans too. You're out there because you know that there's that appreciation. So yeah. Anybody watching, don't be nervous. So again, Justine, this was great tonight. It's great to learn a little bit more about you and the stuff that you do.
Thanks so much.
I think the outreach you do is fantastic. I think it's always good to take your talents and share that with other people. You know, because it's a gift it's a gift that, you know, people like yourself have been blessed with, and it's always good to, you know, share that with others who really do it. So again, Justine, thank you so much. Thanks everybody watching. If you want to just hang out backstage for a second, we'll wrap up then after. But yeah, guys, we'll see you next time on IncrediChat. See Justine at Saratoga. Follow Justine, and we will see you all very, very soon. Thanks so much again, folks.
Thanks.